โมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะนะโมตัสสะภะคะวะโตอะระหะโตสัมมาสัมพุทธัสสะพุทธังธัมมังสังฆังนัมมัสสามิ Blessings, good evening to everybody. Tonight we're remembering Magha Puja, the Buddhist festival day comes in February, the full moon of February. In the Buddhist tradition there's three main days that we remember. It's this one, then there's Visakha Puja, Vesak, the Buddha's Enlightenment Day, and then Asalaha Puja, the day that the Buddha gave his first teaching. All three are full moon days. And there's something quite naturally special about the full moon, the bright moon, especially when there's a clear sky. Seeing the full moon, most people find quite uplifting. It's reminiscent of many good things, and the Buddha sometimes compared the full moon coming out from behind the clouds with our mind. When we have faith arise, a wholesome, skillful mind state arises, it helps to part the clouds of the unskillful negative mind states. So these full moon days are all festival days, and sometimes we need a little bit of ritual and ceremony and these kind of events to give something particularly for the lay community, yourselves, to focus on through the year, but also for the monastic community, because today in particular we are remembering the teaching, the Awada Patimokkha, that we just chanted. And that teaching has been handed down to us for thousands of years. That's due to the Sangha and laity practicing, remembering the teaching, practicing with it over these thousands of years, giving importance to it, remembering it, so that we still have it today. It's like our inheritance. Probably if you have heard the news that you have an inheritance from a departed relative with some money involved, we say your eyes light up like the full moon. If it was a cartoon, then your eyes would light up with dollar signs. But really we have a better inheritance than one of just money or material things that we may or may not get from our relatives. We already have our inheritance. We have the Dhamma that's been handed down. We have Buddhist monasteries, places of practice like this. We have the teachings. We have Sangha who practice those teachings and can lead us as laity. So our inheritance is already here. We don't have to wait for our relatives to pass away. We're here to collect our inheritance by remembering and practicing the teachings of Dhamma. And the Awada Patimokkha is such a good teaching because it's so simple but effective. Abandoning the unwholesome, cultivating the wholesome, that centers around karma, doesn't it? We also just chanted that I am the owner of my karma, heir to my karma, born of my karma, related to my karma, abides supported by my karma. Whatever karma I shall do, for good or for ill, of that I'll be the heir. That reflection is just pointing out the importance of our intentional actions. Our actions matter because they're karma. Actions lead to results. So the Buddha was emphasizing to sort out the difference between skillful and unskillful, or wholesome and unwholesome states of mind, because that's where karma begins, with thinking. We have to learn to observe our mind as we practice every day, not just in a temple or a monastery or place where you're meditating, but at work or any time of day, at home. We have to learn to recognize our own state of mind, know whether it's wholesome, kusala, which is to be developed, or unwholesome, akusala, to be abandoned. It depends which way you approach it. You can approach it from a place of wisdom, like you've heard the teachings, you think about them, kind of know what they mean. So then wisdom might come up and say, this moment of greed or attachment I'm experiencing, this is unwholesome, this is to be abandoned. You might have the voice of wisdom in your mind that says that. Or you could approach it from a place of saddha, faith. You've heard this teaching, you say, the Buddha said abandon the unwholesome, cultivate the wholesome. So you recognize you're falling into an unwholesome way of thinking, greed, anger, worry, fear. And faith comes up saying, the Buddha said abandon this. I assume he was right because I have faith, great strong faith in the Buddha, and everything else he taught was true or correct so far. So the Buddha said abandon it, so I'm just going to abandon it. You just do it. Maybe you have some stubborn kilesa or attachment, and however much you reason it, you think it through, you still won't let go. But faith can do it sometimes. The power of faith just says, just follow the Buddha and stop thinking those unwholesome thoughts, give them up. So faith and wisdom work together to help us practice with our own mind. I'm just giving you examples here, but you see how we have to develop the skillful qualities and the very things that the Buddha was pointing to in this teaching, the Awada Patimokkha. And it doesn't matter who you are, there's always a suitable teaching or reflection that will help you in every situation. We can only give the texts and the teachings we inherit, they only give you the outline. Then we have to take them on board and think about them and then apply them in our daily life. That's the hard part. When you're with a teacher or a group of people practicing, maybe you feel more confident, it sounds right and you can do it. But when you're on your own, can you do it? And when we leave the monastery, can you carry on practicing? That's the challenge, learning how to practice in all situations, not just when in a group or with the teacher or looking at a Buddha statue. Can we practice these teachings when we're driving our car on our own, or at work on our own, or just sitting doing something at home on our own? Are we still practicing looking after our mind? And what's the aim of our practice? It's another thing this teaching brings up. Why do we practice what the Buddha taught? Because sometimes in the beginning we're just aiming at very ordinary things. Just to make somebody happy maybe. You come to the temple because someone else said, let's go to the temple, and you're just coming because you're following them, or your family member. Or maybe you have some problem that you want to get through, so you're feeling a bit ill, so you go to the temple to get a blessing. Or you've got some problem coming up in your life, family quarrel, or got some issue at work, so you come to the temple for a blessing maybe. It's not wrong to seek kind of blessings and help with these more ordinary things. But the Buddha was pointing out, what we're really practicing for is Nibbana. Nibbana paramang vadanti Buddha. All the Buddhas say that Nibbana, the end of suffering, the deathless, the unconditioned, is the highest. It's really what we're practicing for. And even though it may seem far away and difficult to achieve, the important thing is to see it gives us the flavour of what we're doing and the guideline of what we're doing at every step. Nibbana isn't something way over there, far away from us, that one day, one lifetime we might experience. Nibbana means coolness, means the extinction of the fires of suffering, greed, anger, delusion. So every time you let go of a little bit of greed or anger, selfishness, fear, worry, anxiety, you're getting a little bit closer to Nibbana, or experiencing a taste of Nibbana. And you get a taste of something, then that leads you on, doesn't it? If you have a taste of the peaceful mind, even though the stress and the suffering can return, it gives you an idea of where you're heading and what you're aiming for in practice. It's the practical taste or experience of Nibbana. Ajahn Kalyano used to say, if you experience the mind of samadhi, when you let go of all those 5 hindrances, the distractions, the sleepiness, the endless thinking and worrying, when you let that go and your mind gathers together in samadhi, he said that's a taste of Nibbana. It's very close to Nibbana. It's not Nibbana, but it's a close impression of Nibbana. It's giving you the confidence that there is such a thing as true peace, a mind that is purified, peaceful, without suffering. And we need that as well. We need things to confirm to ourselves. We need to verify that what the Buddha has taught is true. So if you have a really peaceful, good meditation sometimes, that gives you lots of confidence to keep practicing. Of course, we all get frustrated and then we say, oh, but I want that every time. We get greedy again. I want good results. I want to be peaceful every time. Of course, we want that. But it's not always possible because there's many kinds of karma and different obstacles we're moving through as we practice. But if you have just one time when all the rapture, the happiness arises, and the mind seems to merge inwards and lets go of everything, then it gives you a confidence, Nibbana is possible. Sometimes when it happens, maybe the first time you have an experience of samadhi, you might even think this is Nibbana. Many, many people do that. They think it's Nibbana and they go, this is Nibbana already. And they're so happy, and that's a genuine happiness. But unfortunately, they also have a little bit of delusion there, jumping the gun. And so afterwards, the mind comes back to a more normal state, starts thinking again, feeling the body again, aches and pains, worries. And then they realize after a while, it wasn't Nibbana. But it's still worth the experience, it's still useful, it's just you have to be on your guard. So Ajahn Kalyano said it's not sure. So maybe you think you've reached Nibbana, you have a really good meditation and Your head is way up there in the clouds with the full moon and everything is good. Nothing is bothering you, no pain, no worries, nothing from the past, no baggage, no worries about the future, and the body and the mind feel really light, just like you're floating up in the sky with the full moon. It's good. And it's something we should experience because it will lead us on in the practice. But don't grasp at it as Nibbana yet. It's a taste of Nibbana. What do you let go when you let go in samadhi? You let go of the 5 hindrances. So that means if you really experience some one-pointed, single-minded unity of mind, samadhi, means you let go of your body, doesn't it? And that's why it's so pleasant. Sounds don't bother you. Feelings of pain, discomfort don't bother you. If the weather is cold, it doesn't bother you. If the weather is hot, it doesn't bother you. Temporarily, you let go of your body, so it's really nice. You let go of your senses. So you're not looking for anything else to make you happy at that moment. You're not looking for the next bit of music to listen to, the next program to watch, the next person to talk to. You're not looking for food. You're not looking for sleep to escape. Your mind is happy in itself. And this is something really valuable for us, even if we only experience it once or twice, because it reminds us and proves to us that there is another kind of happiness beyond just the normal senses of the body, the pleasures of the senses. It's free. You don't need to pay anyone for this kind of happiness. And it's yours. It's your own wealth, inner wealth, spiritual wealth. You may have been helped by other people, teachers, other meditators, the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha, of course. But the experience is yours, your own experience. This is why in the Ovada Patimokkha, the Buddha said, learning to experience the peace of solitude, dwelling alone in a quiet place. Doesn't mean to say you have to live totally alone to practice Dhamma, but you have to learn how to be at peace within yourself. Because everything we gain from the practice, sila, samadhi, and then wisdom, insight, arises in our own heart, our own experience. Other people can be involved, they can prompt it, support it, guide it, help us, or not. Sometimes we gain everything at a time when we're totally alone, but sometimes we are stimulated by teachers and the Dhamma, of course. But you experience it alone. When we suffer alone. When you're feeling really sad, whatever anyone else is experiencing in the world around you, that's your sadness, isn't it? You feel it, you know it, you think it. Anyone who's angry is experiencing that anger alone. Even if many people seem to be angry at the same time, like two people arguing or a group of people somehow hurt in a situation and they're all very angry, upset. Each individual feels and experiences the anger alone. That's just the truth of the way things are. It's nature, isn't it? You have your mind knows, so you feel it yourself, whatever anyone else is feeling. And it's quite possible if you're feeling suffering at one moment, everyone around you could be quite normal and feel fine. In the same way, when we overcome our suffering through our practice and our efforts, we experience this peace and happiness of letting go. We experience it ourselves. other people don't experience it. It's our own experience. We know the peaceful mind for ourselves. Other people may suspect it, may look at our face and say, oh, you look really peaceful. And if they're experienced in meditation, they may guess and say, oh, you must have had a good meditation. Monks do this all the time. They see someone who's very peaceful, and because they've got experience with meditation, they know their meditation is going well today. They may not say anything, but they know. But still, the actual feeling of that person is their own personal experience. If you are experiencing no suffering in your mind, you have rapture, the body is light or the body's disappeared, the mind is just very peaceful, like the radiant moon tonight, that's your experience. And this is valuable and I would say vital for your life as a human being, is to experience a peaceful mind. Because no one can do it for you. They can only help you and support you, but they can't do it for you or experience it for you. Why is it important for each individual to experience the peaceful mind of letting go of greed, worry, anger, all these things? Because we're born alone and we die alone. Again, you might say, well, I was born from my mother's womb. My mother was there, my father was there, the doctor, nurses were there. Well, yeah, they're there. But the actual experience of birth, your experience. For better or for worse, pleasant, unpleasant. Death is the same. Nobody dies with you. Even if somebody was to die at exactly the same time as you, that would be their death and your death. You would have your own separate experience. Your body would stop working for whatever reason. Their body would. Birth and death is a totally personal, private experience, and then what happens in your mind at those times is your experience. This is why it's important to see, our own karma is our own thing. We own it, good and bad. The experience of this mind, pleasant, unpleasant, painful, pleasurable, happy, sad, these are our own experiences. Even the Buddha couldn't make us enlightened or make our suffering go away. If you could meet the Buddha, or like tonight we're remembering the Buddha, and so often that makes us happy. Always makes me happy to remember the Buddha, think of the Buddha, think of the Dhamma, think of the Sangha. It makes me happy, but they can't actually do that. I have to recollect mindfully the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha. The Buddha couldn't make people around him enlightened. It's a mistake we often make. We say, oh, I wish I was born at the time of the Buddha, and then hear the talk and then get enlightened listening to the Dhamma from the Buddha. Those people who were enlightened listening to the Dhamma from the Buddha, they had their own good karma, their own bharami, their own efforts. The Buddha was prompting them, pointing them to the Dhamma, but they had to do the practice themselves. We have to do it ourselves. And we need to. We need to build more good karma, more merit in our lives, so that we have something to look after us through this life and into our next life. You just think about it. When you die, is there anyone goes with you to help you next life? No, you go alone, don't you? What helps you as you go into your next life is the good karma you've made this life. You don't have to wait to the end of your life to prove this. What happens what supports you and helps you the next part of this evening, say? It's your mind, isn't it? If you're going to be peaceful and happy tonight, right here, right now, that comes through your own efforts. So if you've been meditating earlier and you're already feeling quite relaxed and your mind is bright, that's your own efforts, that's your own good karma, your merit you've made. Or chanting these chants we just did, remembering the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, spreading thoughts of kindness, chanting the Awada Patimokkha. If that brings up joy for you or some good feeling, that's your good feeling, your good karma, supporting your mind right now. There may be many people here who are feeling happy, relaxed, faith has arisen, that's good. But each individual will be the one experiencing that. And when you die, that's what you take with you, your karma, good and bad. So it just makes sense. Avoid making bad karma. Sababa pasa akaranang. Just avoid it, stop it, don't do it. So you don't have to keep receiving the results of it. And make good karma, cultivate good karma, the path, sila, samadhi, panya, or dana, sila, bhavana, because this is what will bring happiness to your mind. You know, when are we going to get it? When is the penny going to drop? When is the light bulb going to switch on? When will it click? Make good karma and abandon bad karma. Really, when it clicks is when the mindfulness is strong enough that you recognize clearly for yourself from your own experience, oh yeah, I have to give up this negativity that I keep holding on to. Let it go. The worries, the fears, the self-aversion, the sadness, the depression, whatever it is that causes you suffering, that's to be abandoned. Because it's thoughts, feelings, emotions, and you have to bravely, patiently work with your own mind until you've let it go. Then you start to experience the joy of letting go. And what did the Buddha say is the best quality to help you get there? Khanti paramang tapo titika. Patient endurance is the highest austerity. Or we used to chant a supreme destroyer of defilements. Why did the Buddha put that right at the front of this teaching? Because you need patience, khanti, throughout your practice of what the Buddha taught from start to finish. And another delusion, another problem we have practicing the Dhamma is we're always kind of expecting to get sort of to some point where all our problems are gone, finished. All our obstacles are finished, no more suffering. You know, whatever the problem is, whether it's money problems, relationship problems, health problems, there's always this kind of hope, expectation that it will be gone. You know, just around the corner, COVID will be gone, everything will get nicely back to normal and I have no more problems in my life. There's a kind of hope we've all got in our mind. But it doesn't work like that. You know, basically life is problems from start to finish. It's more how you deal with them that changes, but problems keep arising. There isn't such a thing as end of problems. Even the Buddha had health problems. Even the Buddha had to deal with people who didn't like him or didn't respect him or insulted him. He had to teach people. Some people were easy to teach, some people were difficult to teach. The Buddha got backaches and headaches and muscle cramps, and the Buddha felt hunger and thirst, and the Buddha felt hot and cold just like we do. It's not like the Buddha reached Nibbana and then all problems finished. It's just he no longer made any suffering out of those problems because he had wisdom. His mind was free from attachment. He still had problems, so he still needed patience. So patience is the highest austerity or leading quality to destroy defilement, because you need it from day one until the last day. The very last day of your life or your practice, you've reached Nibbana, you're already enlightened, you'll still need patience. Don't think somehow you can get rid of the patience when you're enlightened. You still need it. Just look at our teacher, Ajahn Chah. He got ill when he was only 62 maybe, depending on where you put the starting date. He was ill, seriously ill, for about 10 years. Incredible pain, incredible discomfort, incredible amounts of discomfort to endure, horrible food. After he started taking liquid food, the food didn't taste very nice at all. For 10 years, horrible food, lying on his back or in a wheelchair, couldn't really use his muscles, couldn't speak, nothing to enjoy. And yet he stayed alive for 10 years. He had to endure a lot of painful feelings as all his body was packing up little by little. People always ask that question, less so now because they don't know the story, but when he was still alive, they're always asking, how come he's still alive? Well, one reason is he had incredible patient endurance. You could say, well, he's an arahant, he doesn't feel anything. That's not true. Arahants still feel pain. They still feel all the pain of illness and old age, and Ajahn Chah was very ill. So people ask, how did he stay alive? They ask the doctors, and the doctors will say, I don't know. It's one of the few times you hear doctors say, I don't know. Usually doctors know everything, don't they? Whatever you ask them, they've always got an answer. But with Ajahn Chah, they often didn't have an answer. They say, don't ask me. They admitted there were big areas of Ajahn Chah's experience they couldn't explain. But they had faith, because they're Buddhist doctors, they had faith in Ajahn Chah's enlightenment, in his meditation. They knew he had deep states of samadhi, they knew he wasn't attached to his body, his mind was liberated, but they couldn't actually explain why. But one reason was because he had Kanti Paramang Tapo Titika, right to the very last day of his life. Many doctors said he should be dead by now. Not meaning they wanted him to die, of course, but people had asked, they say, he's so ill, how is he surviving? They say, a normal person would be dead by now after maybe 1 year. Many people predicted when he had a stroke and he became bedridden, they said, well, he's only going to last a year. They'd say that. Even monks would say that. He lasted 10 years. 10 years in bed, no entertainment, no distraction, just basically with dukkha vedana for 10 years solid. And you can sort of brush it away, you say, oh, it must be just his karma. And everyone would used to say things like, oh yeah, he used to be an army general or a king, did all this stuff that probably has come back to him. They just make kind of these comments. But doesn't really mean anything, is it? It's just guessing. What you don't need to guess is that he was suffering physically for 10 years, but his mind didn't seem to be attached to it. But he still needed the patience to be with that. So put aside those thoughts and hopes, just around the next corner all my problems will be finished and life will suddenly be easy. It doesn't really get like that. It may get easier as you become wiser and more peaceful, but the problems will be there. After Nibbana, you still have to pay the bills. After Nibbana, you still get headaches and backaches and have all those health conditions. After Nibbana, you still have to face COVID and whatever COVID brings. After Nibbana, you still have to face your children, your parents, your friends who are no longer friends, your boss who's got it in for you, or whoever it is, or whatever it is. Those problems are still going to be there even after Nibbana. The thing is, though, you've changed your view of it all. You no longer take it all personally. You never hear that description of Nibbana, do you? You hear that Nibbana is the unborn, the uncreated, the deathless, emptiness, no suffering, which is fine. That's all great. But you never hear Nibbana is not personal. But you could say that, couldn't you? Nibbana is not personal. When you reach Nibbana, you don't take things personally, because there's no more Sakkaya Ditthi, self-view. When there's suffering, it's all personal, isn't it? My problem, my pain, my worries, my fears, my hatred, my anger, my jealousy, my rage, my desires, all the things I want that I haven't got. It's all personal, isn't it? That's the mind of delusion. It makes everything into a personal problem. And the bigger the sense of attachment, the bigger the personal problem. So even small things become big things when you have a big sense of personality view, what we call Sakkaya Ditthi, self-view. Even the tiniest little thing becomes a big thing. Tiny little obstacle in your day becomes a big thing to think about for the rest of the day. A traffic jam, a bill to pay, somebody's words, somebody ignores you, somebody criticizes you. It all becomes a big problem when we forget the Dhamma. But when we see the Dhamma, we let go of our attachments because we see through them, see that they're not a self, they're just the way things are. Then the big problem becomes a small problem, and the small problem disappears. No problem at all. But we have to deal with this kind of constant hope or expectation that somehow everything will disappear and I'll just be free from all the problems. And maybe just readjust your way of thinking, and it's like you practice the Dhamma with patience, letting go of the unwholesome thoughts and intentions, the distractions. You develop the wholesome, the mindfulness, the right effort, the right speech, the right action, the right mindfulness, the right samadhi. And this all puts your mind in the right place, where you still experience the world as it is, but you don't attach to it or create a problem out of it. So this simple teaching, Awada Patimokkha, is giving us the guideline how to live our life. You can just write it down, photocopy it if you're too lazy. Just stick it in your pocket or your wallet and just bring it out every day. Abandon evil, do good, purify your mind, be patient, aim for Nibbana. Don't say things that insult or hurt other people. Don't do things that hurt other people. Live modestly, keep the precepts, and keep bringing up mindfulness. Dedicate your life to a life of mindfulness. It's the one quality that's never wrong. If you're ever at a loss for what to do in any situation, establish mindfulness. Difficulties at work, difficulties in the family, difficulties with your health, whatever the suffering is, bring up mindfulness at that moment, and you're definitely going in the right direction. It's never wrong. Loss of mindfulness leads to trouble. We don't know what we're thinking, don't know what we're doing. We get caught up in this sense of self, we make a problem out of everything when there's no mindfulness. When there's mindfulness, the problems start to disappear very quickly. It's always helpful. It's like our best friend. But we need to keep reminding ourselves of this teaching. So write it down, put it on the back of your door, put it on the dashboard of your car. I even know people have written Dhamma teachings and stuck them on their forehead. I don't know how you read it on your forehead. I guess you could write it backwards and then you look in the mirror and read it. Whatever works. But certainly on the back of the door, I know many people who've written Dhamma teachings on the back of their door. They shut the door and they read it. It just brings you back to the present moment, mindfulness and what you have to do. We have to be creative in our teachings and our practices sometimes. But this is what we're celebrating tonight, and it is a celebration. Awada Patimokkha. It's our good fortune, it's our inheritance. So you should be even more happy getting this inheritance, and even if somebody died and left you $100,000, sure, that would be a great thing. But you've got this good inheritance already. You don't need to wait for $100,000. You just get the Awada Patimokkha out and start practicing with it, and you're already luckier than half the beings in this universe. Animals can't do this, and half the people in the world have no knowledge of it, unfortunately. We do. You're lucky. You're the lucky ones. So I'll leave you with this contemplation tonight.